Hello everybody and welcome. What do you think? Snazzy, eh? That's staying throughout the hot, and it's not really. I'm actually in France at the minute getting ready for the Tour de France. It starts on Saturday. This is the eve of the Tour de France, set to be one of the biggest, best and most spectacular, I don't know, Tour de France's the world has ever seen. We've got some hitters in there and we're going to talk all about it shortly. This is the alternative preview to the Tour de France 2021. So here we are in the Alps once again for another Tour de France. I'm so excited to get this one started. It's set to be huge, this one. Let's take a look at the stages now. Obviously, we've got 21 stages. We'll always have 21 stages. Sometimes we'll have 20 if there's a prologue, but essentially this one is a 21 stage beast of a Tour de France. Those 21 stages comprise of 5 hilly stages, 8 flat stages, 2 individual time trials, there's 2 rest days in there for the lazy buggers, and there's also 6 mountainous stages. 3 of those mountain stages will culminate in a summit finish. The riders will cover 3,383 kilometers. Now, as the crow flies, if I set off from here and traveled 3,383 kilometers, I could visit this little fruit and veg shop in deepest, darkest Russia. Oh, how about this cabin? Literally in the middle, I think that's Norway. It's in the middle of nowhere. Or I could have a chat with this young lady here carrying water on her head somewhere in Mauritania. It's a long old way, 3,383 kilometers. If you're not doped up to the eyeballs, you're going to struggle to get through this one. I'm kidding. Jeez Christ, man. Not even 2 minutes into this video and already we're talking about doping. Jeez. Let's take a look at some of those standout stages of this year's Tour de France. Now, obviously, in terms of GC, you've got to be looking at those 2 individual time trials. The first of those stages comes as stage 5, 27.2 kilometers. And then the final individual time trial is stage 20. That covers 30 kilometers. Although both very pivotal in the Tour de France, I think that final one on stage 20 is going to be the one that decides this year's Tour de France. I don't think it's going to be decided in the mountains. I really don't. I think it's going to be decided on that final time trial. Well, it's going to be decided on that final time trial, but I think potentially there's still time to be gained, time to be lost in that final time trial. Who's going to be coming into it with the best form? We'll talk about riders later. All I'll say is it's a pivotal stage. Stage 20 is a pivotal stage, as is stage 11. Now I'm calling this one the Madonna stage. This one is going to ascend Mont Ventoux not only once, but twice. But it's also going to finish on a descent. Who's got the balls to commit to a fast descent? Although the mountain goats will ascend it the fastest, can they descend it the fastest? Or are we going to see the likes of Nibali making up 17 minutes on a descent? Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen, but that is a pivotal stage, as is the Les Ardennes stage. And that is stage 18. Not only is it a summit finish up Les Ardennes, I don't care if I pronounce that wrong, but they're also climbing the HC category climb Col de Tourmalet. That again, like I've said, pivotal. It's all pretty pivotal. Stage 1 might be pivotal if you end up breaking your collarbone and you're out. Now, talking of stage 1 is essentially the Pritchard Classic. Anything could happen in this one. You've got the likes of Mathieu van der Poel, Alaphilippe, Wout van Aert. You've got those classics riders, all capable of making it into the yellow jersey. So the prize is huge. The prize is huge. But here's a question. Can Mathieu van der Poel hold on to that yellow jersey when he wins it on the first stage? Because he's going to win it. I have no doubt. Can he hold on to it all the way into Paris? Leave your comments down below. I think he's capable of winning this year's Tour de France. You might think I'm mad, but don't forget, this is the alternate Tour de France preview. But anyway, stage 1, you have got the chances of crosswinds, of rain, of cold weather, of literally anything happening. It's going to be a scary affair. Don't forget, we know how crazy the first few days of the Tour de France can be. Nervous riders, everyone jostling for position. Add into that the wind, the rain, the cold weather. I don't know how to say this. A disaster. Some people are going to be coming out of those first 2 days of this year's Tour de France in pieces, in bits, if they make it out at all. I'm not saying they're going to die. What I'm saying is they might have to withdraw from the Tour de France. But still, it's a sketchy start to the Tour de France. Everybody's going to want to be in yellow. Everybody's going to want to get a stage win. And with those 2 stages at the start, it gives riders who potentially would never see that yellow jersey a chance to get in it. It's dangerous. It's bloody dangerous. And don't forget, we don't have the 3 kilometre rule for the first 2 stages. That means if a GC rider goes down within those final 3k, tough shit. You've got to make your way to the finish and you're going to lose time. Leave your comments down below. What do we predict is going to happen in those first 2 stages? GC contenders all going to make it through safely? Or do you think we'll be losing a few casualties on the way into the middle of France? All right, let's talk predictions. And before we talk about the usual stuff that everybody talks about, i.e. who's going to win the green jersey, who's going to win the yellow jersey, I don't care about any of that. I'll tell you right now, top 3, Pogacar, Roglic, Geraint Thomas, Richie Porte in 4th, Richard Carapaz in 5th. That's how it's going to go. All right, again, leave your predictions down below. Prove me wrong. Who's going to win it? Who's going to take 1st? Who's going to take 2nd? Who's going to take 3rd? Leave your comments down below. But who's going to be the most average rider? Now, if you look at this recent tweet, the average rider from the 184 rider peloton is 29.63 years old. They have a height of 181 centimetres. They weigh 69.3 kilos. So the most bang average rider I can find, is a bit out on the way. Dylan Turns. He's 181 centimetres, 29 years old, 64 kilos, there's no on him. Or how about Formolo? 62 kilos, a little bit lighter, 181 centimetres, 28 years old. I'll be honest, I can't be asked to go through the rest of the riders. So, statisticians out there, who's the most average rider in this year's Tour de France? Leave your comments down below and let me know. But who do we think is going to be the last place rider? Like I said, it's the alternate preview. We don't care about the winners. Let them battle it out amongst themselves. Who's going to be taking home the Lanterne Rouge? My money is on Luke Rowe. I think he's going to put himself into a box and he's going to go for that Lanterne Rouge. I think he's targeting that as one of his main objectives at this year's Tour de France. He's won it before in the past, and I think he's going to win it again. Now, obviously, any Tour de France preview show would not be a Tour de France preview show without mentioning the name Mark Cavendish. He got drafted in late into the Deceuninck Quick-Step team after Sam Bennett has pulled out with injury. And let's be real, what are we expecting from Mark Cavendish? He's a capable young man. He's won a few Tour de France stages. He could, and everyone's saying he will, win a stage at this year's Tour de France. I don't want to be pessimistic. I don't want to be negative towards Cav, but I just can't see it. I just can't see that he... And yes, listen, he's beat a lot of the riders, if not all of the main sprinters that are heading to the Tour de France at some point this year. But you've got to think that they're all bringing their A game. They're all bringing that little bit extra. Again, I'm not talking about doping. I just mean that they're peaking for this. They're hunting stages. They've been working towards this. Like I'm sure Cav has. But please, Mark, prove me wrong. Get a stage victory. Again, let me know down below. Do you think Cav is going to take a stage victory? And if he does, which stage would it be? Leave them down below. Now again, while talking about riders, let's talk about Chris Froome. Chris Froome came out on his YouTube... Didn't come out like that. No. He came out on his YouTube channel. Thinks he's a YouTuber now. How's about I rock up to the Tour de France and just say I'm a Tour de France? Why are people from the mainstream coming in to our domain? We've spent years here honing our craft. And then these people rock up. Douse it. Froome. Cavendish will start one soon enough. Alright? And infiltrate. How's about I just rock up on the start line? I am starting it this year, Froome. Go on. I know what to do here. But anyway, I had a quick sit down with Chris Froome on his YouTube channel and I asked him what he thought of blood bags and EPO being banned for this year's Tour de France.
I don't personally agree with that decision.
But let's be honest, Chris Froome has absolutely zero chance of winning this year's Tour de France. And that's not me being a pessimist. That's coming from the man himself. He doesn't believe he is capable of going for GC and he's going to be working for Michael Woods, which essentially leaves him there as either a domestique, I don't think he's super domestique capable yet, but there as a domestique, or a rider likely to go up the road and get in a break. And I think he'll be targeting a few of those climbing stages to To prove that he's still got what it takes to win a stage at this year's Tour de France, I think he might do it. I think he's got a better chance of winning a stage than Mark Cavendish has got of winning a stage. Actually, funnily enough, I spoke to a few famous YouTubers about Chris Froome's chance of winning stages at this year's Tour de France.
Shut the fuck up, mate!
They can all fuck off. All of them. I've sunburned the top of my head today.
Thanks so much for watching.
I also asked KSI what he thought the French hopes were at this year's Tour de France.
Oh my God.
And yeah, that pretty much sums it up. There's a lot of big name French riders in there, but none of them are capable of winning. And there's no Frenchies that watch this. But if there are, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. All I want to see, if I don't see a British winner at this year's Tour de France, is a French winner of this year's Tour de France. But I just don't know where it's going to come from. Again, leave your comments down below. Prove me wrong. Tell me where that victory for France is going to come. Alaphilippe? Don't be silly. Potentially, but no. David Gaudu? No. Francois? Magnifique? I don't know any of the French riders. Pierre Roland? Not a chance. Warren Barguil? Not a chance. Thibaut Pinot? Not a chance. He's probably got more of a chance winning it this year than he ever has done. And he's not even in it. I just can't. Kenny Elissand? No. Guillaume Martin? No. I just can't see where he's going to come from. But leave your comments down below. Let me know who your favourite is going into this race. Is it going to be an Ineos, Jumbo? I was going to say UAE, but it's not going to be Team UAE, is it? It's going to be Team Ineos versus Jumbo-Visma versus Tadej Pogacar on his own. Because you look at the likes of his team, and you don't see solidarity in that team. You've got 4 or 5 riders there, all vying to do their own thing, all capable of doing their own thing. And you can't help thinking that they'll be like, well, we'll leave Tad. He can sort himself out. I'm going for a stage victory. So essentially you've got 2 teams and 1 guy on his own, fighting it out for the victory. But what about Team Ineos? What do we think to Team Ineos this year, taking up the old movie star approach? 8 GC contenders. Go on, lads. Go for it. If they're all GC contenders, surely one of them will win. But in fact, none of them end up winning. But again, I can't see where that win's going to come from. I'd love to see G do it. I'd love to see Richie Porte do it. Carapaz, he's got one in him at some point. But not this year. I don't think this year Team Ineos have got a leg to stand on. I think they're going to be all wanting to, what's the phrase? Measure their dicks against each other. See who's got the biggest schlong in that team. Who's going to be that leader that's slightly ahead of the other 2. Because that's what's going to have to happen. We can't go into that stage 18 with 3 of them still capable. What happens? 3rd, 4th and 5th on GC. Carapaz is in 5th, but he's feeling good. He's only 30 seconds off G. What does he do? G's not feeling it. Richard Carapaz senses that he could get 2nd place in this tour. Does he go? Or does he work for G to ensure that G gets 2nd? It's a minefield. And I don't care because I don't have to sort it out. I'm not management, so they can do what they want. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what does happen though. There you go, kids. That's the alternate preview show to this year's Tour de France 2021. Leave all your comments down below. Make sure you say something positive about this year's Tour de France. If you want to say something negative, do that as well. I don't really care. But now, listen, if you want stats, figures, facts, actual race analysis, stage by stage analysis, GC favourites, sprint favourites, Wout van Aert favourites, link is down in the description to one of the best podcasts, probably the best podcast currently in the cycling world, the Lanterne Rouge podcast.
We look at the cut-uppers after that, and then
Port.
the losers of the day.
If you keep disrespecting Port, I'm
Damn it.
going to fly to fucking Brussels, get a train, and we're going to have a problem. You're putting Carapaz before Port. Jesus.
Yeah. Sorry. I think Port above cut-uppers, of course.
Probably the best podcast currently in the cycling world, the Lanterne Rouge podcast. Lanterne and Benji thrash it all out. Some of the best analysis you will get. And obviously they're going to be going stage by stage as well once the Tour de France starts. So link down in the description. Go and follow it. Subscribe to the channel. You're probably already doing it. It's a cracker. It's an absolute cracker. And if you've not done already, feel free to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live with our next videos. Thanks for watching. Hey.